Let's start this off with a Christian affirmation. I am forgiven and set free from my past mistakes and sins. Okay, so hi everybody, this is Christian RPG Gamers. So I guess for this video I wanted to talk a little bit about the trading card game called Yu-Gi-Oh! And I guess I'll give some of my thoughts on it. And to be honest, I'm probably going to talk about some reasons for why I like this game. So, and also, also you got like the new video game, right? Now, I'll say this to begin with, right? I haven't really played the game in the physical game in almost 4+ years, and I'm not particularly super fond of the newer Yu-Gi-Oh! The new Yu-Gi-Oh! Is kind of broken, overpowered. I feel like it's just broken, overpowered, and it's like, you got these cards where you have to like flip the card in backwards and forwards, and you have to, it's such long text, and it's like every single game it's like I play my hand turn 1, drop everything down, and have like a full board and the hand set up and everything. It's like the game in my opinion is so unbalanced, and it's just so not fun as it currently is. But what I will talk about is more of like the traditional, a little bit of the older, more normal, traditional style of Yu-Gi-Oh! And I've been playing this, I don't always play these games like relentlessly, but in my free time occasionally. So I built a Warriors deck. Now this footage is a little bit older, I would say. So I built a 6 Samurai deck now. I have a Warriors deck. I kind of started out with Warriors to begin with. I have enough cards that I can probably build a couple more decks. I was thinking, because as I was investing in a bunch of these packs, I figured out how the packs work now. So every pack has its own set of cards available in it. So I was opening the 6 Samurai packs, which also have a whole bunch of other sets. I started investing in some of the Amazoness Warriors. So I have a bunch of cool Amazoness cards now. I was fighting against the Amazoness, some Amazon lady. And I picked up a whole bunch of cards. And the Amazon set also has a bunch of the Harpy lady stuff in it. So I could try to build a Harpy deck. And again, they have the different tiers of enemies you can face. You can play against their decks for fun, or whatever. And also, you can also try to go through all the different, they have 20, I know it's 35 different people you play against. You just go down the list, and there's 6 of these for each one of the sets, or each one the different types. Okay, I'm gonna try to put some kind of a Christian spin on this too. So again, part of my new philosophy that I've been kind of following this past few months is that I personally feel just good, neutral, wholesome, clean entertainment is a great way as a Christian, in holiness to glorify God. And it's a little bit debatable, I suppose. And I do believe in supporting direct Christianity too. But sometimes I don't have to force something either. This can just be a fun thing to do. And by having fun, I can glorify God. In holiness. So, there is that. I'll try to put some kind of a Christian spin on this. But again, I've enjoyed playing this specific video game, and I used to play the card game a long time ago. I played the card game 2 separate times, when I was a lot younger, and when I was in my 20s, early mid 20s. I'm in my 30s now, but early 30s. But again, this game has evolved and is kind of warped over the years. And it added a lot of positive things, and then it kind of just, one of the big problems that I feel with this game, again, it is a massive balancing issue, where it's again, all of the cards technically are available to play and use in the deck. They have a ban list, but the new cards are just so powerful compared to the old cards. And they started adding things like ranks into them, and they had so initially they had fusion summoning, and then they brought in They brought in stuff like synchro summoning, and they brought in, they can call them like Exceeds summoning, like XYZ or something summoning. And then they brought in, I think they brought, it's hard to keep track of all of them. They brought called like Pendulum summoning, and then they had they call like Link summoning. Like, I mean, I wasn't even really around when they made Link summoning, but I've seen it in the video game, and they probably have some other type out there that I don't even know, right? And it's like old cards just become irrelevant and just can't do anything, especially against newer decks. And I feel like this is one of the biggest problems for Yu-Gi-Oh! It's like playing this video game, right? Now I can play some of the older cards, and I can build some cool decks and face against, you know, other older decks. And in my opinion, that's a lot of fun. But again, the big problem is they don't have multiple formats. And this is one of the reasons I think Yu-Gi-Oh! Is kind of a dead game or a dying game. Like, you know, you play Magic the Gathering. Magic the Gathering has like, honestly, it feels like it almost has too many formats. Well, there's like 20 formats you can play in MTG. You know, even Arena has a bunch of formats. And they have, again, sometimes you have to have rules or laws or restrictions. But, in my opinion, these rules make the game more fun and makes the game more balanced. And it's not like, you know, I mean, it's like every new set that comes out in the Yu-Gi-Oh! It's like thousands upon thousands of dollars, and all the old sets just die. And it has such a warped meta. So again, if you had rules set up, that you had multiple different, like maybe you had time frame periods, maybe they could make a stricter ban list for some of these cards, or they can have certain requirements. I mean, I feel like, again, the game is just, it's not balanced at all. And it doesn't incentivize you to want to play, and it doesn't want you to have fun. That, I think, is the #1 reason why Yu-Gi-Oh! Is dying as of right now. And honestly, I don't even, I tell you the truth, I don't even care all about the game really anymore. I mean, as it currently is. Now, I mean, I like playing the video game, right? That's a lot of fun. And my reasoning is, if I had some old friends who used to play the game, and they had some of their decks in like a shoebox in their room, or they still played the game, or we played some older decks or something, you know, they could borrow me a deck, and I mean, I'd play a couple matches or something with them, some of my old friends or something. I would be down for that. But that's a bit, I mean, like, I just don't really care that much anymore. But yeah, like, again, you know, you can just go through and you can like pick up some cool ideas, some cool you know, like this one's a warrior deck. You know, it's not super optimized, but I mean, I was playing against, I think, some of the original enemies, so I wanted to try to keep the deck somewhat, you know, somewhat balanced. So like I don't have like an extra deck. And technically in this game you can play any card in your deck to play against, you know, the AI. But I wanted to keep the game somewhat like original and core. Because playing, like, you know, Exceeds monsters against like the early enemies, it's like, that's not fun. Those cards didn't originally exist in the old sets. So I tried to keep them somewhat balanced. Now I was playing against the Six Samurai against I think they call them like the GX. Now it felt, to be honest, a little bit powerful, so I might have to slow that down for now, and maybe start. I mean, because like if you get that in the third set, so they had some synchro monsters. I don't think synchros were in the second phase in the game. So it's like, I mean, I don't really like playing a deck that's super powerful against an opponent who has no capabilities of that. So I mean, again, like, I mean, I do like to, you know, like, I want to have fun and I want to enjoy myself. And it's hard to enjoy yourself just brutally destroying your opponent who has no possible chance of ever winning against you. And I want it to be somewhat balanced. Now, I mean, I'm okay with winning. I think being competitive on some extent is okay, but there has to be some kind of limits at the same time. And the same thing with like playing a lot of video games. Sometimes having some rules in place, honestly, I think it makes your gameplay experience better. Because, you know, it makes it feel more real, and you know, it's like sometimes, you know, a little bit of rules in life, you know, can enhance your experience. I know that sounds foolish to some people, but if you just do whatever you want all the time, honestly, I feel like you're probably going to be incredibly unhappy. Sometimes you need a little bit of structure. And again, one thing I do kind of wish that this game... So here's some other things, right? This game does give you story decks you can play too. Now, I don't play those very often, but you can play story decks against these opponents. And they do give you stuff like deck recipes, and they have some certain decks you can play. Which, I mean, again, this video game is very comprehensive. Now, I'm not sure if 100% of every card in this game exists in this video game, but it does, from what I can tell, have a very, very large percentage of the cards. I mean, it probably has at least like 90% of all the cards of Yu-Gi-Oh! It might not have some, but to tell you the truth, it might have all of them up to a certain point too. Because like it has some of the quote unquote, you know, the Egyptian gods, and it has some of those you know, some of the movie cards in it too. And like it's just a mountain of cards. And it's so much fun to go around and try to find them all, or find certain decks you want to build and collect the cards and play against like some of the different AI decks. I mean, it also has it does have a couple other small formats. So one thing I will praise this game for is it does have a couple of sealed matches you can play in some drafts. So it has some very specific booster packs that you can draft. It costs like, I think it costs like 2,000 or 4,000 of the, you know, the BP or something, or the battle points. So that's how you spend the currency. So one thing I will say about this game is the currency is very, very generous and fair. Also, this is not like some MMO game. This is a single player game, and you can play with other people. But the currency they give you in this game, the game will, first of all, every time you beat one of these specific matchups, they give you, they give you the avatar you get to use, and like the name, and they give you a special deck list and recipe, and they give you some special, I think, first time bonuses for winning or something. But they also give you one of like, 5 cards linked to their deck. Now I'm not sure the exact numbers and statistics, and they give you a very fat pool of like these little battle points too. Now some of it seems like it could be somewhat randomized. I think the first time you beat them you get a slightly boost up, but you still get a nice fat pool. And usually it costs about 400 points, I think, to earn to open one booster pack. And it's like you get like, sometimes you can get up to 2,000 points for winning. And honestly, you get it like if you lose the match. Now I think if you can't surrender and win. You can't surrender, I think. But if you would just lose the game, you get like half the points. I think they still give you a couple cards too. So the game is very generous for playing the game. And it's not really, it doesn't lock you behind really heavy paywalls or anything. It's just a normal pool of resources you get to gain. So again, I do like that a lot. And when you play in like the sealed drafts and the regular drafts, I think it's like 2,000 points or 4,000. And it's like, if you just play the game, and I think even if you lose, you're probably going to get all the points back at the end of the time either way. And you might even actually be able to double the amount of points you would earn. On top of which, you get to keep all the cards in your draft. So I think that's pretty cool. I have not tried the sealed myself, but I did run, I think I ran at least one of each of the major drafts. Also the realization that you get to keep all the cards is really nice. Because there's some pretty strong cards in the drafts. I'm not going to say they're all like perfect or anything, but especially like early to mid game, it has some very, very powerful cards. Like I think I got a couple Acts of Despairs out of it. And then you might even get like a Mirror Force or something, or just it could be pretty strong mid-range cards. I think there's like a Guardian Sphinx. And again, so I think because like the limit of this game is normally you have 3 copies of every card. Now I think this is one problem with the game, is that when you get extra cards, I kind of wish if you got more than 3 copies of a card, it would just kind of purge the extra copy and just give you some extra points or something. Or maybe all the extra cards would go towards like a special booster pack or something. You get some promo cards or something. I mean, again, I feel like that would have been nice. I think you just get more copies of cards and they just go to your collection. And nothing really happens. But, and this is a single player game. So I do understand it's not that big of a deal. The game is very generous, and it's not like a huge ordeal. And again, there is like, I think you get to have up to like 32 decks you can build. So again, you get so many cards, so many different decks, and it's just a lot of fun. And it does give me a lot of nostalgia boosts from the times when I used to play this game. And the AI, for the most part, is pretty intelligent. Like, the AI actually kicked my butt quite a few times in the drafts. Like, I mean, they literally beat me more often than not than I beat them. You would think an AI is usually kind of stupid, but the AI in Yu-Gi-Oh! Is actually pretty good. It was just surprising, in my opinion. I mean, obviously you can still beat them, and like if you're playing against like user decks against the story maps, it's not impossible or anything. But even then, if you're playing somewhat fair, they can still be pretty good. And some of these decks are strong, and the story decks are allowed to use banned cards. So they'll be playing like Pot of Greed and Graceful Charities, and they might play like a Premature Burial or something, and they can play any card they want in their decks. So that, in my opinion, it's kind of cool. Like, I kind of appreciate the AI getting special upgrades and special advantages, making it a little bit more challenging. Because like I feel like you want to play a game where there's at least some kind of a challenge. It doesn't have to be like an absolute challenge, but at least making it more difficult to play against. Because also it gets so boring if the AI is just if the AI is brain dead. That's not particularly very fun either. And if the AI is so powerful that you just can never beat them, I feel like that could be kind of unfun too. But having a nice, healthy challenge in this game is very enjoyable. Okay. So, I'm going to try to go... Okay, so that's just some of my thoughts. I don't think I actually listed the name of this game. I'm sure I'll have the name in the description or in the title or the thumbnail. Or it's not like it's that difficult to find. Let me see if I can find it. I think I have it up here. Okay, so I was looking at booster packs earlier to figure out how I can get certain cards. It's called Yu-Gi-Oh! Legacy of the Duelist. Now, I mean, I do think this is honestly, in my opinion, one of the single-handed best Yu-Gi-Oh! Games that they've made so far. Now, I have also, to be honest, I have enjoyed some of the other Yu-Gi-Oh! Games they built. So I played some of the ones I think in the Game Boy Advance. Back when I was like a teenager or younger, I used to play some of the Yu-Gi-Oh! And video games. Some of those games are also quite good, and they had some really interesting like jank, not the real game. They call like man, I can't even remember their names. What's it called? Like, I'm not gonna try right now. I mean, I might make it a different. Like, they had they had some. It was kind of loosely based off of the story of the original stuff, but they had like different elements you could fight against, and they had special rules and stuff, which I thought made the game so much fun. And they had some cool games where, again, you could earn some booster packs. And one thing I did appreciate about the games is they did try to keep them somewhat balanced. Like, I would appreciate for this kind of a game if they just, again, like, just a couple of small features here and there. So, like, one thing they could do is they could have a button when you're doing the filtering out your cards, is you could have them within a certain block or a certain period of time, so that way you would keep the decks somewhat when you're trying to build decks, you could keep them within a certain format type or a certain power level. Or maybe they would go through on each of the major decks, and they would write out a power creep level, kind of like a recommendation, right? So that way you could try to determine how hard your opponent's going to be playing a deck, so that you can try to build a deck within a pure power level they have. Just these small things, right? It brings you more satisfaction. Here they have like a Ring Dragon of Ra, and you were playing like some Exceeds or something. It's like, how fair do you think that would really be? And like, I've seen like so there's just so many different types of decks, and I would like to maybe build some of the like the lower power. So like you see how they have this card here. It's like a what do they call it? Like the dark scorpion, I think is what they're called. Let's see if it's here. Yeah, the dark scorpion gang or something. They have some really cool ideas, and I understand that that kind of a deck isn't considered quote unquote good enough to compete in modern day times. And the same thing with like the Amazons or the Amazonas. It's a really cool deck, and obviously its power level is very low because it's old cards, but it's cool, and I like some of these cool stuff. Now, initially I was just trying to build a jank deck. I was just trying to build a deck that could compete. And like I do like some of the classic cards too. You got that Cursed Dragon, I think it's called, or something. And they got such cool cards. Now some of those old cards are just garbage, right? But they were cool. Like Gaia Fierce Knight. Oh yeah, that guy here, right? I used to play this in the Game Boy Advance game, and he wasn't bad either. He was called like what's it called? The Sword Master, I think he's called. Like he defeats your opponent's monsters, and he can take your opponent's creatures, and he equips them to himself in the spell and trap zone, and he gains a power bonus per each one. Now again, that's a little bit old and a little bit janky, but it's really cool. And like some of these dark scorpions, it's like even like it's just really interesting. And they had some of these really old cool effects and cards. Like they had some like insect decks. Like it was like Weevil was it Underwood? I can't remember his name. That really creepy little like little green insect guy. You can build a cool deck out of that. You could build a cool insect deck, or there's it's called like Mako or Makai. You build like this like water kind of a deck. You can go through and you can find all the different strategies of decks, and like they don't have to be like garbage necessarily. You could build them to be you also can splash some of the newer, better power cards, combine them together with two. And you could build some cool ideas. And there's also just good stuff decks, which are also very strong. I think obviously in Yu-Gi-Oh, I think that theme decks are very strong in Yu-Gi-Oh, and decks that do very specific actions are strong. And then you also can just build the good stuff too. Oh yeah, like right here. Just before I kind of zoomed out, I went through real quick, but I didn't care too much. But like, again, you get the new campaign duel, so you have to beat the first person to get the next person. There's like 30 people it goes down, and you get their deck avatar. And you get their deck recipe, but they do not give you all the cards. But if you do come up with all the cards they have in their deck recipe, you can build their deck and just play their deck. Let's just go through a little more. So they give you their signature card, and then they give you a few other cards. I don't know the numbers and the statistics. I think they have a set pool of cards they maybe give you, or maybe there's a percentage chance you get a card they have in their deck every time you would win. Oh, shoot. Oh, this is like kind of the end of the video. So let's go back a little bit. So I don't know how far this might have been the ending of the first tier, and they'll have a little story you can go through too, which isn't bad, right? Okay, so like this one, victory duel points earned 1,686. So again, it costs about, I think, 400 battle, or what's called duel points to unlock a pack. So that's 4 packs worth of cards. So it's not bad, right? And the game is, you have to pay the game buy the game originally. That's like 4 packs. And if you keep playing, you can keep replaying the same person, or try to farm certain stuff, or you can just try to go down the list. And like, it's not that hard. If you're getting 1,500, 2,500 points, you're gonna be opening. You have a lot of access to packs. Like a lot of times, I might have like 12,000 points to spend on picking up certain packs. So like I tore through a whole bunch to get a very large fat assortment of the Six Samurai, for example. And I have not gotten that My Great Shogun Shin. But I have most of them. Now, I don't have all the cards because it is somewhat random. But I mean, I do have a nice Six Samurai deck now. So I mean, that's cool, right? And because the Six Samurai was a deck I used to have a long time ago. Now, I mean, sometimes the decks just get kind of like quote unquote bad as time goes on. But I mean, it was still a cool idea. So yeah, I mean, this is kind of like the Yu-Gi-Oh game. I don't know what video is going to come up next. I know I made a couple of videos on it. This is Yu-Gi-Oh. I didn't want to upload all of them because I don't know how much I'm actually going to use them for background. Here, let's try this one. This one's probably a bit of an older one too, but I mean, it doesn't matter, right? I think, yeah, I had the Warriors again. Now this Warrior deck I built, I've upgraded it quite a bit. It's not bad. I'll say that much. It's not a bad deck. I mean, Warriors are really cool, and Warriors can be strong too. So I mean, I've got some pretty strong cards. I got like a Safe Zone. I got some pretty nice cards. And some of the Warriors have really strong abilities. Now I gotta figure out how to get more of those Command Knights. I'm not sure what pack they're in or who I can fight to get them. So, I mean, one thing I kind of also wish this game had is it had more. I wish it would tell you. There'd be like some kind of a. Now I know that obviously they're probably not gonna watch my video, but I can just say it at least. I kind of wish they had. Like, I mean, say you highlighted one of these cards, you went into your they call it like a trunk, and you had Axe Raider, and you're like, say I had one Axe Raider, and I'm like, okay, how do I get an Axe Raider? And I wish that they would show you. You could press it. You can click on the card, and then you can go down to the bottom of the screen, or you can. They give you a button you can press, and the game will tell you here are hypothetically one of 5 ways you could obtain this card. So say you're looking for more copies of a card, or maybe you want to look up a card you don't actually have yet. Like, how do I find this Axe Raider? What's it called? Like Dark Blade. Guy from like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. How do I get a Dark Blade? And like, to tell you the truth, the game doesn't really offer that. I don't think it tells you where you originally got it. I mean, I would like you to show me all the different decks of all the different opponents that I could hypothetically get it from, or what the booster packs I'd have to open to try to get it, or all that kind of stuff. So that would be nice, because like I probably have to look up on my phone how to get the Command Knight, because I have one of them. I don't even know how I got it to begin with. I don't know how to get 2 more. So I'm sure there's somewhere on the internet that has it. And I know they have the comprehensive list of all the cards on the internet, but that is as a feature that would be nice. But yeah, I mean, I think this is the kind of game that I would like to keep playing over time. Because like, I mean, I do like farming to collect the cards and stuff. I feel like as long as I make this game somewhat balanced for myself, especially if I'm playing against like the AI, for example. And like, I mean, obviously they do have a lot of the newer cards too. Like, I mean, they have a bunch of cards I used to play too that are kind of, I mean, now they're a little bit older, but they were kind of new originally. And like, they do have some really cool stuff. So this game is very fun. So yeah, again, I don't put too much of a Christian perspective on this. I mean, to tell you the truth, I don't know that there has to be one. I would say, from some discernment though. So they call them like quote unquote spell cards and stuff. Now I generally view it as like a mechanic, but yeah, I mean, these green cards, they have the name spell, and they're kind of like, they're kind of magic related. But truth be told, I feel like, again, it is a bad word, and it is kind of meant for bad, but you can kind of just look at it like a game mechanic. I feel like as long as you can discern that it's just a mechanic in the game, it's not like, I mean, you just kind of keep your crap together a little bit. But, and they have like traps, and they have like spellcasters, and they have, you know, they have some naughty stuff. So I feel like you got to be careful a little bit. And again, like this game, it is a mix of fantasy. It has lots of realistic stuff, lots of fictional and fantastical versions of things. I feel like, you know, to tell you the truth, I don't really think there's any. I don't have any major moral qualms with Yu-Gi-Oh as a show, or Yu-Gi-Oh as a game, but there are some things out there that you should at least be somewhat careful with. Because I mean, like a lot of fantasy stuff, there are some dangerous crap in it. I mean, if you're just being real with yourself, and there's a lot of good things, but there's also some bad. And this TV show, anime, does have quite a few bad crap too. But I mean, I also feel like, you know, it's a choice. You can look for good in things, and you can look for evil. If you want to find evil, you can find a lot of evil, and you can decide that you're going to dismiss this altogether because of evil. But you can also look for good, and you can embrace the idea that there's a lot of good things that come from it too. And you can focus on the good, and you can not focus on the evil, and you can choose to enjoy yourself. But I mean, it's a lot of this is a personal choice. Now, I'm choosing, I think, going forward, that I want to look for good. I want to enjoy things for the good. And if there's just so much darkness in something, then maybe, you know, maybe I just got to skip it. Or I'll have to think about it. Or I'll have to figure out a way to justify myself. So there is that. So yeah, I mean, overall, this Yu-Gi-Oh game, I've had a lot of fun with it. I mean, I've been kind of playing a game, like, I think I've been playing this game on and off for like a good year plus now. I've kind of, it's only like a 2 gigabytes. It's like, it's not a big file or anything. 2 gigabytes is not too much. Right here they got me with a 2000 defense monster. I just can't get through. So yeah, I mean, I'm interested in building some more decks. I mean, I can probably build a good 4 or 5 decks. I mean, I've only really been built the warrior deck. I've been kind of focusing on that one. I mean, I'm building one of 3 or 4 like core decks, but I have so many cards in my trunk. I could easily build, like, I could build a good stuff deck. I could look on a couple other decks I could build. I mean, I don't even know how some of these cards work, but I mean, it's a lot of fun. So yeah, I mean, I guess so. Let me know what your thoughts are. I mean, I know I've made a couple videos on Yu-Gi-Oh in the past. I figure I'll just talk about it again. I mean, the way I like to view some of this stuff is I view them as like forever kind of content, or like eternal kind of content. Where it's like, I mean, I feel like I'm always going to be able to play a game like Yu-Gi-Oh over the years, because, like, I mean, there's so many different sets with so many different cards. The same thing with like Magic the Gathering, or even games like, you know, like The Witcher. You have like Gwent, or even some of these stories and stuff. Some of these games are like Skyrim or like Fallout. I mean, some of these are like forever games. They're just massive games that have so much content that I like to view them as like forever kind of content, or like MMOs. They build a new MMO expansion, or every once in a while they make a new MMO, and eventually those have expansions. Yeah, they're like eternal. They just keep going, right? Or, you know, that's what I like to call them. Obviously, you know, in holiness, only thing that's truly eternal, you know, is the Lord Jesus Christ. You know, his kingdom, and, you know, his salvation. Oh yeah, and then like the creator of Yu-Gi-Oh, I think he died. He passed away, I think, about I don't know, like 5-6 months ago. And, you know, I mean, I do respect it, right? And the truth is that all things, they come into play, and eventually they you know, all good things come to an end eventually. And it's sad, but it's the truth. So, you know, he created this game, and he passed away. Now the Dragon Ball Z creator, he also passed away. It's sad, right? But, you know, it's just it's a cycle of life. And like this game, you know, he built this cool game. To tell you the truth, I mean, I respect it. I respect the man who did it. Now, I don't know his intentions, and I don't know what his goal entirely was, but he built something really cool. And that much I can respect at the end of the day. Oh yeah, one other small criticism about this game before I'll get this out of my system is you really can't take back your moves. Now, some of the stuff, like if you want to activate like a trap card in response, you can cancel it. But if you're gonna summon a monster, like, you just have to do it. there is no take backsies really in this game. So I kind of like that because it's interesting that they don't let you take moves back, but it's also kind of piss offable at the same time. So like, you try to summon a creature, you have to summon it. You can't just like take it back. You'd be like, no, I'm actually don't want to summon that. So in this game, you gotta be patient. I'll say that much. You gotta be a little bit patient. Because if you're playing super fast, you're gonna bound to play cards out of, you're gonna make mistakes, and you know those mistakes are gonna kind of bite you in the butt. So it's just I'm just being real, right? So again, sometimes I like those things, sometimes I hate those things, but it's a little bit subjective. All right, I'm gonna end this video here in a second. I also want to say, like, I mean, I would be interested maybe in going back and watching the anime again, just looking at it from like a fun point of view. Yeah, so that one I got 1,800 points again. I think this is was it the second time or the first time I played it? I can't remember. I think it was the second time I played them. So, oh yeah, I was thinking about building a toon deck also. Again, there's so many deck options, right? Now, some of them might be quote unquote garbage cards, but the toon deck used to be like a meta deck. The toon deck used to be really strong, but it just kind of fell apart over time. So yeah, I mean, I would be interested. I don't even know where you can find these kind of shows to watch. Like, I've only really watched the original Yu-Gi-Oh! I've never really seen, I think they call them like 5Ds, and there's like GX, and there's like one with I can't even remember their names. They like Xtrel or Xtel, and they had they always kind of try to keep them like a Yugi theme, but I mean, I've only really cared about the original. But I would be interested if I could find a platform that actually, you know, offered, I could just binge watch the whole series. I would be interested in maybe watching some of this show again, or maybe I'll just go back and I'll watch the original Yu-Gi-Oh! Again. I mean, I've seen this series multiple times, but I still think the original anime is just it's still good enough that it's still interesting to watch. And I know that the rules are just like makeshift. They literally make crap up. But I mean that's fun. I think it makes the anime really cool. And the anime could be like one for one exactly as the cards say, but instead they just do whatever they want. And I think that's awesome. Oh yeah, cards like Megamorph. I don't know. I mean, I do a lot of ways love this game. I'm sure I'll be making more videos at some point about it. But it is a fun card game. So, all right, let me know what your thoughts are on Yu-Gi-Oh! And do you agree or disagree with it? And, you know, what are your what kind of decks did you used to play, or do you still play any of the video games? Or do you play this video game? And yeah, I mean, like, you know, how much fun do you have playing this game? Or are you one of like the super cutthroat, power hungry people, or are you someone who likes to have fun? You know, there's just so many different ways you can look at it. All right, thanks for watching. Yeah, let's read the bottom. It says, thanks for watching. Be content in Christ.